TitleMatchNetwork.com.
The original angle with Carlito seemed to go over really huge on TV. Do you think it surprised a lot of the writers and the office staff?
What, are you kidding me? Yeah, it surprised everybody.
Well,
and then it got nixed. And then somebody got hurt or something happened. And then he got switched over to Umaga.
Right.
Or me and Carlito probably might still be running to this day.
Did you like working him?
What, are you kidding me? He's the best.
Do you think they could have done a lot more with your program? Obviously, that they cut it short. I mean, they could have went.
Well, yeah, especially you got Raw, you got 2 hours, but remember you got so many guys that you want to get over. You know what I mean? I was happy that, let's say in Raw, that I was there for maybe, let's say, 15 episodes. For 5 of them, they put me second to last.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they saw the reaction that I was getting, but you got to understand, the reaction that you're getting doesn't necessarily translate to the booking committee and the writer committee and everything that's going on.
That was my next question I was going to ask.
I had a couple writers that Dreamer always said that were pushing for me, but I wasn't kissing the agent's ass. I refused to do it. I'm just not like that. If Vince doesn't see what I can do for him, and actually Johnny Ace told me this, the first time I asked for my release, he goes, Hack. And I was serious, I was ready to quit. I didn't ask for I said, Johnny, I said, I know there's a difference between quitting and asking for your release. I said, I'm not a quitter, so I'm going to ask for my release. Johnny called me back and he goes, listen, Hack, he goes, Vince loves you. He said, Vince sees a run in you right now, and he sees a heel run in you. So Vince liked me, but that doesn't mean when you got 20 people in front of you, Vince has got how many corporations that he's running?
Right.
You just get lost in the shuffle.
Were you happy to actually hear that you'd be turning heel again, or?
No, what are you kidding me? I don't want to be heel.
No, exactly.
What did Dreamer call it? I went out in the blaze of glory. I was like the partiest. I was back to the old Sandman. We were in Columbus, Ohio. And we had buses taking us to the airport to go to JFK, to sleep that night, then to go to Africa. So I went out. It was Sunday night. It's like in Pennsylvania. You can't buy alcohol in Pennsylvania, like a States or anything. I went to a bar. I paid like $110 for a case of light and a case of Bud and a bottle of like Grey Goose. So I had I put the 2 buses, like as you come in, there was like a tunnel under the building. I had the 2 buses, so we could all kayfabe a little bit. I sit there, I was the bartender. I had the 2 cases of beer, I had the bottle there. I said, we're gonna do this tour ECW style. So the whole tour was just a big party, just a totally big party tour to where I know we'll get to this point, to where Ricky Steamboat comes up to me. It's like the 3rd night. He's like, and it's raining outside. They're trying to get the show in an hour and a half because the promoter doesn't have insurance. But as long as they get an hour and a half in, when usually our show is 3 hours. So Ricky Steamboat's decide that, oh, you know what, Hack? I don't think you're 100% tonight. I'm going to take you off the card. So I'm thinking, well, you know what? Ricky's just trying to get me heat for the plane ride from Columbus to JFK. So before you ask the question, I'm sitting in, we're in like, we're not a 747, we're in a CR, whatever, 150 seats, there's 32 of us. Ricky's sitting in the front left seat. When you come in, you're walking down the aisle. He's sitting in the front right seat. I'm sitting in the second seat. I'm trying to stop smoking. So I've had a cigarette in my mouth for the past 20 minutes. We land, all of a sudden Ricky turns around to me and starts yelling at me. He's the lead agent. He's the only agent on the tour besides Tony Garea. And Tony Garea is not really an agent. He's like a guy that gives you money, like draw money. And I like Tony Garea because I played rugby, he played rugby. I was on the All Eagles rugby team, one of the best teams in the United States. So me and him were fine. So Ricky turns around and yells at me like I'm a 3-year-old child, saying, oh my God, something like, Sandman, you're very gonna light a cigarette, don't you know about the FAA rules? I said, Rick, what are you talking about? He goes, I see the lighter in your hand. I go like this. I said, what lighter are you talking about? John Cena's sitting in the seat behind me. And I'm like, And I'm like, Rick, what are you talking about? And then Rick goes on. And then me, I'm a little bit buzzed. I got a half bottle of vodka in me. And then I start to get a little bit belligerent with Ricky because first of all, I've already asked for my release. The only reason I offered to go the only reason I was on the Africa tour was because I asked Mark Carano to be on it because I've never been in Africa before. Or I never even would have been on the tour. So Ricky treats me like a 3-year-old. I call up Johnny Ace. As soon as he yells at me, I call Johnny Ace and I ask for my release. While I'm still on the plane. Plane hasn't even hit the jetway yet. So I said, Johnny, I said, listen, I'll finish this tour, but I want my release afterwards and we'll talk about it later. So then everything happened, so I just think Ricky wanted a reason to give me heat. I mean, there's guys that... Look, everybody was partying the same as much as I was, you know what I'm saying? But since it was raining, they only had an hour and a half show, they needed to cut a match, so I think Ricky's thinking, oh, well, we'll cut the Sandman and that'll get him heat, you know what I'm saying? So that's my spin on the whole thing. But anyway, either way, I wanted my release. I asked for it that Monday, they didn't give it to me. I fly through Chicago out of Green Bay. I went to Green Bay that night, by the way. Won like $600, $900 playing craps. All the money that I spent. Because I was buying everybody lap dances. And we were in Johannesburg, South Africa.
What's it like over there?
You know what? It's just like anywhere else. Just the scenery's a little bit different. You know what I mean? You know, strip clubs are the same. So all the money that I spent went back in Green Bay. And then I go through Chicago and everything's delayed because the weather's bad. So I go check in at the Hilton. I'm asleep. And I see that Johnny Ace called my phone. I called Johnny Ace. He goes, well, heck, he goes, I got some bad news for you. He said, you're released. I said, you call this bad news? I'm like, I'm relieved. I'm like, you told me yesterday I couldn't have. You told me yesterday to stop asking for my release. Now you call me today to ask for my release, which I think had something to do with the day before they had a meeting that they decided that they're going to offer drug treatment to anybody that used to work for the company, anybody that had never worked for the company, anybody that has worked for the company. And I think Vince was pissed off at me that night because I had hit my head pretty hard on the ground before, and I think I should have sold a little bit more, being the last 3 left to be his son, and all I could do was stare him down because, you know, my head wasn't there. All right, next question.
Gene Snitsky, were you frustrated, I guess, when they, had him squash you on TV? Or was it pretty much just...
Snitsky squashed me?
I think it was one time on TV.
I don't think I ever
watched
You never worked him at all?
Nope.
Oh, edit that out, because that was one of the questions.
That is Snitsky.
Yeah.
TitleMatchNetwork.com